Chairman. Ms. Torres.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, welcome. And thank you for being here. Congratulations on your appointments. With great power comes great responsibility. The responsibility to our Constitution, to the American people, and to the truth. You have built a reputation as someone who stood up to dictators, someone who defended our democracy from foreign threats. And I know that firsthand because you, Mr. Secretary, defended me in the past. When President Bukele of El Salvador targeted me, telling his followers, don't vote for Rep. Torres, endorsing my opponent, and unleashing a campaign of vile threats, harassment, intimidation, and leading an online lynching against me 3 times. Your response, Mr. Secretary, was clear and direct. My home was vandalized with gang graffiti. My husband was confronted in our front yard while we were having a toddler swim party. That child is watching us right now. A man filmed himself planning to shoot me. Our Justice Department agreed with us in a 2022 court indictment alleging that Bukele has a deal with MS-13.
What's up, Patriots? Welcome back to the channel where we talk truth, freedom, and the real issues the mainstream media won't touch. If you're tired of open borders, globalist nonsense, and politicians pretending to care while they sell out our country, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you believe in America first. Today, I'm reacting to a viral clip where Representative Norma Torres grills Secretary Marco Rubio about alleged secret deals with El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele. And let me tell you, this whole thing is a masterclass in liberal hypocrisy, misplaced outrage, and why we need strong, unapologetic leadership on the world stage. Let's start with this. Torres opens her remarks with an emotional monologue about how she was targeted online by Bukele supporters. Now look, I don't condone threats or violence toward anyone, especially elected officials. But let's not pretend like the left doesn't use social media to attack and cancel conservatives every single day.
Gang leaders receiving support from MS-13 and strategizing on how to better hide murderers from the public, disappearing them. In fact, a woman who dared to lead an anti-corruption unit in El Salvador was just arrested by Bukele's attorney general, and no one knows her whereabouts. You understood what was at stake then. You called it out. You stood with me against this outrageous, dangerous authoritarian. I'm a bit confused with what has happened. You're now shaking hands and cutting deals with him. And you facilitated what our Supreme Court has ruled as an illegal rendition, a Maryland father sent to a torture prison in El Salvador. In my hand, I have evidence here, news reports and affidavits that detail the deal you worked on with El Salvador and Bukele's deal with MS-13. I have here interviews with MS-13 gang members revealing the truth behind Bukele's gang ties. And I ask unanimous consent to enter these documents into the record.
Without objection. Done.
Congress has been very clear. The law requires you to share these secret agreements. And let me be clear on which agreements I'm talking about. The State Department is usually the lead agency, but at the very least, a part of negotiations with foreign countries, not the Homeland Security, the State Department. The U.S. has an agreement with El Salvador. According to the U.S. law, state must share all international agreements with Congress when requested, and Congress has requested this agreement numerous times. You've so far ignored us. So let me ask you directly, will you commit right now to handing over the requested agreement that the United States has entered into with El Salvador under your watch as required by law?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. The United States, two things have happened. The first is El Salvador agreed to take back nationals, Salvadorian nationals, including the individual you mentioned. These are people that were in this country unlawfully, had MS-13 ties, and they were repatriated to their country.
Okay.
Then there was a group of gang members from Trinidad Agua in the United States, and he agreed to take them into his prison system. The United States, in addition to that, has provided law enforcement funding to El Salvador, which they are free to use any way they want. They can use it for their jail system. They can use it for other law enforcement functions. But that's the deal.
That is not correct.
No, that is correct.
But those agreements did include giving MS-13 gang members to El Salvador at their request, right? We turned over a gang member who committed a murder in the U.S. without allowing for our judicial system to try him, to give some justice to that family of that murdered victim. But we sent him to El Salvador because Bukele requested him, because it is in his best interest to hide his ties with MS-13 gang members. So do the agreements to send migrants to El Salvador contain provisions saying that the U.S. retains any future control over the individuals transferred?
Well, those who Salvadorian citizens are citizens of El Salvador. They're here unlawfully. Gang association is a crime in El Salvador, and he will face justice in his home country.
We send other country nationals to El Salvador. We disappear them to a prison that is known for torture and inhumane dealings with their imprisoned people. How much U.S. taxpayer money did your department send to Bukele's regime?
And Mr. Secretary, I would ask you to answer very briefly, because we have to move on.
Bottom line is we gave them law enforcement funding as we do for other countries in Central America, and who we sent to them were trained at Agua gang members that Venezuela won't take. So we have to send them somewhere else. We don't want them in our country. We don't want these gangbangers in the United States.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, Mr. Alford.
She's upset because someone said don't vote for her and endorse her opponent? That's not foreign interference, that's free speech. Meanwhile, American conservatives are being shadow banned, deplatformed, and called terrorists for posting about election integrity or border security. The double standard is unbelievable. Now, Representative Torres claims that Bukele has some kind of deal with MS-13 gang members. First of all, Bukele has done more to crush gangs in El Salvador than any of these American politicians have done in their own districts. You want to talk about crime? Go look at Chicago, San Francisco, or New York City's run by Democrats. They're overrun by crime, drugs, and illegal aliens. Bukele literally built a mega prison to clean out the streets. That's called law and order. Maybe if Torres and her pals actually supported the police and stopped demonizing IC, we wouldn't have MS-13 in our own backyard in the first place. Then we get to the heart of the matter. Torres is demanding the release of some alleged secret agreement between the U.S. and El Salvador. Give me a break. The secretary responds clearly. El Salvador agreed to take back its own nationals, especially gang members that don't belong here. That's a win for U.S. security and U.S. sovereignty. These are criminals who are here illegally. Why should we let them rot in American prisons on our taxpayer dime? Bukele is willing to take them? Good. Ship them out. Now she brings up the case of a Maryland man allegedly sent to a Salvadoran prison. The left is suddenly worried about due process for foreign nationals? Funny, because when it comes to January 6 protesters rotting in D.C. jails without trials, they're dead silent. You can't claim to care about human rights while turning a blind eye to political prisoners in our own country. Torres demands to know how much taxpayer money went to El Salvador. Okay, fair question. But where was this concern when we were sending billions to Ukraine, billions more for illegal immigrant housing, or to fund drag shows overseas? If Bukele is using U.S. aid to lock up MS-13 and clean up his country, that's money well spent. Compare that to what Democrats want to fund. More open borders, more social programs for illegals, and more chaos on our streets. So let me say this as a proud American. President Bukele is doing what our own leaders are too scared to do, put criminals behind bars and put the safety of his people first. And if there's a deal that helps us get gang members off American soil and into Salvadoran prisons, Congresswoman Torres may not like it because it goes against the globalist narrative. But we need more leaders who aren't afraid to make tough deals to protect the homeland. At the end of the day, it's not about politics, it's about protecting America. I stand with law and order. I stand with border enforcement. And I stand with any leader, foreign or domestic, who's willing to take on the criminals that threaten our communities. If you agree with me, share this video, comment below, and let's get this message out there. The American people are waking up. We're not going to be guilt-tripped into tolerating lawlessness. This is our country. This is our fight, and we're taking it back. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.